Akademiks confirms Drake lost to Kendrick Lamar. That's right, on a recent episode of The Flagrant 2, Akademiks joined Andrew Schultz to talk about the fallout from Kendrick Lamar versus Drake. And it was really interesting insight into how he viewed how everything went down and his status in the media as a result of the backlash, the war. So we're going to get into this whole episode, break it down bit by bit, and then talk about what it means moving forward. We're going to discuss the highlights. So here we go. So Akademiks immediately says push-ups got leaked on his Reddit and that Drake reached out to him and told him to take it down. Now that's fascinating that, the leak actually didn't come from Akademiks. It came from somebody who had the song. So there was an actual leak out there and it made it to Akademiks Reddit. Then he goes into the night of When Family Matters drops and says that Drake reached out to him and told him in 30 minutes, you need to get back to your stream because something is going to happen. And at one point, Akademiks says that he realized he was the one everyone was paying attention to get the news. Right? This was a groundbreaking moment for Akademiks, and it was the start of a new part in his career, one where he would grab the role of authority figure amongst all sections of hip-hop. Not just the young guys, not just the streamer community, but even the old heads who had to bite the bullet and look to Akademiks for actual news. And Ak highlights how Kendrick dropped on his stream times only, except for when Euphoria dropped. So it's basically saying that, Kendrick himself was being strategic in the way he would drop music, and he was doing it when Akademiks was on live. Andrew Schultz then notes how rappers are openly using media, but Ak correctly highlights that it's always been this way. That's right, yeah, it has. Jay-Z used to have his hand all over Hot 97 and use them in his war against other rappers. If you played any diss records or anything like that, he would look at you funny. And even if you remember when Nas went on Power 105.1 and said that Hot 97 was a puppet of Hove, they used to call it Shot 97. That's right, Nas called it Shot 97. But let's move forward. Akademiks then confirms, this is a big one, that Kendrick Lamar is up as of everything that's going on. Now, you have to acknowledge that Akademiks saying this is a big deal because it's clear that he's a fan of Drake, not a fan of Kendrick Lamar to that extent. And it seems to be the consensus outside of everybody not named Maul, Akademiks, or me that Kendrick Lamar has soundly defeated Drake. Then Schultz notes that he believes the grooming allegations on Drake are BS, and they mention how this is going to change Drake's career forever and will radically shift how Drake will deal with women moving forward. Akademiks says we only see Drake with women who are legal, and it's in line with someone like Leonardo DiCaprio who moves with women way younger. Schultz then highlights that it's completely fine for a 37-year-old man to sleep with a 20-year-old woman and that the goalpost is being moved. Then the combo pivots to if it's weird on Drake's part. Now, this is something that has been the big, back and forth online. There's people noting his relationship with Millie Brown, and Millie Brown has since come out and said that it's really just more of a mentor relationship, but people are saying, why is he mentoring a young woman? And there's people who are saying that, they were both child actors. Ak then highlights how all the rappers who have done business with Drake and partied with Drake now have issues with Drake's dealings with women, which is kind of odd considering that they were around Drake and using him to get hits. Then Akademiks says Drake may have been able to avoid these accusations if he lived a more mellow lifestyle. I'm guessing he means settle down with a relationship and, be like Hov, find his queen. But I don't know. I feel like Drake needed to live that lifestyle in order to make the music he did. And had he done that, he probably would have been awkward making these types of songs. Then the cast of Flagrant 2 debates Kendrick and Drake's musical popularity, with Andrew saying that Drake is on another stratosphere when it comes to musical popularity. After that, they get into the data and confirm that Drake and Kendrick are close in terms of label tours, but then things start to get a bit murky when Andrew notes that, Drake has more number one solo and that Kendrick Lamar is likely going to get his first number one solo this late into his career, and it's going to be as a result of him dissing Drake. But then Akademiks theorizes that Drake is done making rap albums after his back and forth with Kendrick Lamar and looking on how the community now sees him. Then Akademiks says that Kendrick Lamar blatantly lied about Drake with the daughter, but before that, they get into something that I don't want to ignore, which is that Kendrick Lamar might be thriving off of the resentment of Drake, and highlights that he's killing off of being the anti-Drake. Just simply by being the antithesis of something, you can garner popularity. I think when Jay-Z was out, a lot of people were saying, oh, he's copying Biggie, he sucks, Nas is the real one, he's the champ. So this is going to happen whenever you are the top dog. No pun intended. Then Schultz says that this doesn't change anything. Drake fans are still Drake fans. Drake haters are still Drake haters. Kendrick Lamar fans are still Kendrick Lamar fans. Basically, identity politics have now become identity raps. Akademiks then says he found out Metro hates Drake because he slept with the same girl that Metro was sleeping with. And then Akademiks confirms Future dislikes Drake, and it's largely because he did an album with 21 Savage. They then talk about no one supporting Drake in the industry, and it becomes a conversation about how, how come there is no one coming to Drake's defense? That's right, everybody is anti-Drake. Akademiks points out that maybe people are so scared because if someone defends Drake, then they had to deal with Pusha T or, The Weeknd or Metro Boomin, Future, all of these guys being against them. So they're just playing it. And they also understand that, they have to bank on Drake winning, and also that Drake will stand by them once they take that stance, which is too much to do. But this was a really great conversation. I think it was a great job of having different sides of the argument exist. You had the Drake fandom represented by Andrew Schultz. You had the Drake haters or the Kendrick Lamar fans represented by Akash. And then you had Akademiks there, who I actually think is more impartial than people make him out to be. Like in comparison with Joe Budden, who just seems like he has something personal with Drake, as outlined by what Marissa Mendez said. Remember when Marissa Mendez mentioned that, Joe has a weird thing with Drake? And we'll get into that in another video. But yeah, so this was a great discussion. I thought it was very civil. They used data where appropriate. But to get into it, man, people, Drake has lost in the court of public opinion. And for that, everybody's giving the victory to Kendrick Lamar. I still like Family Matters more than any Kendrick Lamar song. I think in time people will look at this differently. I was on No Jumper and I said that we don't know how these two gentlemen's career plays out. So we got to wait and we will see how it goes. But check out the podcast. It was great. Really good dialogue. I think it was a bit better than the one had on the Joe Budden podcast, and even on the Rory and Maul podcast. The Rory and Maul podcast was okay, but this was an actual discussion. All right, y'all. Follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. I got more content coming. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.